One of the things that you see people seeing today from the atheists is that say that we need a scientifically based morality. Right? This is what the atheists are saying today, because they reject revelation, and they're saying the way that we should determine what is moral or not is to use what we know from science. And this is ridiculous. And again, I'm just alluding to this point here to be aware of. We don't want to divert and stay on this for too long. But, if you can't tell the difference between a man and a woman these days, or you can't tell what is a man and what is a woman, and you believe that it's perfectly fine for a man to say, I am a woman, and then use the woman's lavatory. Now, if this is the state and condition of your society, and you're trying to pretend that somehow science is going to teach you morality, right? If you compare what these people are upon in their societies and what their society, what the people, what they are upon, and you compare what the prophets and messengers bring, the prophets and messengers, what do they bring? They prohibit usury, they prohibit interest, they prohibit alcohol, they prohibit fornication and adultery, right? They prohibit gambling, right? They prohibit all of these things, which are basically things which destroy individuals, nations and societies. All of these are from the sciences of the prophets and messengers, from the science of the messenger of Islam, right? What is it that your sciences are telling you? Right? First of all, you claim that science can tell you what is moral. Well, it can't, first of all. And secondly, even this science, you misuse it and you abuse it because it tells you one thing and then you act in opposite to it in any case. Your science tells you that sexual promiscuity is going to bring you diseases. Right? And no matter how much you speak about having safe relations or whatever, it never works. Your science is telling you that gambling destroys families and individuals, and it predisposes the children of gamblers to fall into gambling. Same with alcohol, violence, domestic violence, it predisposes the children to fall into alcohol as well. Sexual promiscuity. All of that it tells you this clearly. So these people are very, very, they're not very honest in that they claim that science will tell us the answers, but science is telling you the opposite of what you are claiming of your liberal, beliefs and ideas, and then, you mock religion, which is bringing legislation that agrees with what you are finding from your sciences. So all of this is a tremendous amount of dishonesty, ya ikhwan, and what these people are saying and what they are bringing. All these people are just utterly confused and they are misguided in all of these claims. There's no truth to them. We shouldn't be deceived by them, ya ikhwan. So the point being, the point that we mentioned, that the prophets and messengers bring three things: the sciences of Tawheed, the sciences of the legislation of Allah Azza wa Jal. Right? So everything from the ahkam, what it pertains to, there are wisdoms in those things, whether we understand them or not. But there are wisdoms. Some things we know, some things we do not know. And we see that these disbelievers are attacking now many of these things about issues to do with women, issues to do with marriage, issues to do with divorce, issues to do with purification, issues to do with penal codes, things like that. But that again is a topic in itself. But these are the sciences that the prophets and messengers bring, and they bring that which truly rectifies societies. The third thing that they bring is knowledge of the hereafter. And again, it is impossible for a person to come with this knowledge from the sciences of this world. So if you can see, look at all these types: Tawheed, legislation, and the hereafter. These are what we call the sciences of the prophets and messengers. They cannot be acquired in any other way. And this is also a refutation at the same time, because many of these atheists, they say, like when they concede to the argument that there has to be some sort of creative power, knowledge, wisdom behind the creation because the evidence is overwhelming, they say, actually, we'll accept this, but from here it's impossible to know what this creator is or what this thing is. Right? Why? Because to them, the only route to knowledge is the scientific method. So they will come to a point where they will agree, yes, there might be something, but then how can you jump from this to God now? Because you've got no way of knowing that. Right? But our answer to this is where the prophets and messengers come in. They are the root to knowledge of this being whose existence is evidently clear from all the signs that we see around us. We know that this creation, behind it is knowledge, is wisdom, is choice, is power, is intent. All of these attributes are very clear when we reflect in the creation, right? So then this being, we cannot use the scientific method, we cannot use philosophy, we cannot use any other means to have knowledge of him. This is where the sciences of the prophets and messengers comes in, right? And this is why we then turn to the evidences and proofs for the messengership of Muhammad ﷺ, and likewise of the prophets and messengers in general. Right, so these are the three types of knowledge that the messengers bring, and within these three types of knowledge there is ulum and a'mal. Ulum and a'mal. What is it? Sciences and actions. This is what the prophets and messengers bring. So ulum, science of Allah, His names, His attributes, the hereafter, the barzakh, paradise, hellfire, the events leading up to the day of judgment, the signs of the hour. These are ulum which cannot be acquired in any other way. And the a'mal, the actions, these are the legislations, the legislation of Allah Azza wa Jal. And likewise all of the lofty manners, the lofty characteristics, the akhlaq, and the so on and so forth. Right? These are the a'mal of the prophets and messengers. So these two, ulum and a'mal, we can distinguish between the true prophets and messengers by way of them, by reflecting upon what they bring. What is it that they are bringing? And from the false prophets and messengers. By way of example, we know that there will be many false prophets, many false claimants. And even if you look at many of these philosophers, like for example Nietzsche or these kind of people, you look at their individual personal lives. Jean-Paul Sartre, for example, all these people whom the kuffar they treat as philosophers and thinkers. Look at their personal lives of these people and ask yourself, are these people who are worthy of being followed in their philosophy? Right? Some of them were drunkards. Some of them were fornicators. Some of them were pedophiles, right? Like this Jean-Paul Sartre, right? Some of them were, we don't want to go into all the filth that many of these people were into. If you look at these people and what they are bringing, what they are claiming, then you go and turn and look at the prophets and messengers, and you look at their lives, completely honest, completely trustworthy, honorable, never known to engage in any type of sin or lie or whatever else, and this is like famous and known. Then what do they command? They command with, no alcohol, no fornication, no gambling, no treachery, no. You just look at them, what is it that they are bringing? And what is it that these people are philosophizing about? And what is it in their personal lives? And you see a clear difference between the prophets and the philosophers. Then you have the magicians, because this is another group of people. You have the philosophers, you have the magicians. Same with the magicians. Who are the magicians? They are the most filthiest, despicable, lying of people, unclean, dirty, they destroy people's lives. They worship the jinn, all those things. How can these people be a source of guidance? Then you have the people who claim to have science. They use science as a means of bringing legislation or morality. Same with these people. Look at their personal lives, right? And look at what they are promoting. How can that even compare to what the messengers bring by way of the legislation? There's no comparison. There's no comparison. And you can make that comparison on just very, very simple grounds. Alcohol, gambling, fornication, usury, right? These are basic things that you can take as a criteria and then ask, how can these people compare with what the prophets and messengers bring? Because this is pure rectification of the individual, the society and the nation. In abandoning all of this is pure rectification, right? And it's proven by their research as well, right? There's no safe limit for alcohol, and promiscuity brings all sorts of mental diseases as well as physical diseases. Gambling destroys households, just whatever. So just by reflecting upon the sciences of the prophets and the actions of the prophets and what they bring, that in itself is enough to distinguish between true prophets and messengers and false claimants, the Dajjalin, Kadhabin, likewise the philosophers, likewise the magicians, likewise these scientists. There's no comparison in all of these things. No comparison.